We had fallen asleep against each other, and that morning, or whatever time it was that they served breakfast, the bell rang, and we went up to the mess hall. And breakfast was actually pretty good. They served us some nice, kinda fluffy pancakes. Slightly better than the ones they serve at McDonald's. And I gotta say, I loved the cafeteria lady. She was so sweet. Almost as sweet as the syrup they gave us. That was pretty good. And we were just talking about, well, since it was almost December, we were talking about, hey, what's your favorite Christmas movie? What's your favorite? Alright, any bit of Christmas music that you like? Okay, and then out of nowhere, Gladys, the lunch lady, she started hanging up streamers for Christmas. And everything was going well until I heard, "Ethan, my office, now!" Well, I think I know what this is about. And then as soon as I get up to Dr. Easterman's office, I hear that lady, who I found out her name was Gloria, she played my mother, or my distorted demon mother. She said, "I can't keep getting hurt on this job. I deserve better than this. I can't get beat up. I can't. I deserve a lot better working environment than this." And Dr. Eastman said, "Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to have a word with him, and..." "Oh, no, you need to have a lot more than a word with him, because I ain't working with him. I ain't working with him no more." I did not leave. "He bust my back. I ain't going to let him get away with this." And Dr. Eastman said, okay, well, he won't, from now on, you won't be doing any more therapy with him. Is that fair? And I'll give you a little bit of workers' compensation. "You damn well better." And she stormed out. And she gave me a dirty look, and then stormed off. And I walked into Easterman's office, and I must say he had a very nice office. He had some nice leather chairs in front of his big desk, and he had some bookshelves, so he did have a nice office. Ethan. And he said, "Ethan, we've been over this before. You can't keep beating people up. You can't keep doing this, buddy." And I said, "Okay, but she was about to hurt my friends." I can't believe I was calling them that, but my friends. She was about... Well, and he said, "Well, that's what she's supposed to do. She's supposed to really force them to confront their demons and their past. That's the whole point of this therapy. And she might hurt them a little bit, but we don't let her kill them or seriously injure them." Not killing them. That would be a big violation of rights. Wait, but isn't hurting them a little bit also a violation of rights? Not in this area, Dr. Easterman said. And I said, okay. So, well, and what do I do now? "That's what I was about to say, Ethan," Dr. Easterman said. "What am I going to do with you? You know, it pains me to say this, but I'm going to have to do normal, in-person therapy with you. Would you like some tea before we start talking? Some green tea with honey?" And I said, "Did you just offer me some hot tea?" "I would love some." And Dr. Eastman went over and said, "Don't worry, I'm drinking it too, so there's not any roofies or poison in it." No. And he started he got one of them teapots, and it was one of them tea machines where you push a button and the water starts getting hot. Yeah, they have those in British hotels. I should know because, I've gone to a book signing in England. But anyway, he said, okay, well, we got a lot we got to talk about. So, Ethan, why do you think I put you in these situations, in these simulations? Why do you think? And I looked at him and I said, I don't know. And he said, you don't think it's to face your trauma and your fears? Trauma. And I said, what? Trauma? What? I got a lot of trauma, but I handle that by myself. Okay, but sometimes we need a little bit of help, Ethan. So, why do you think we focus so much on your parents in St. Stephen's? I don't know, I said. I don't know. Okay. Your father was a cop, and was he ever domineering over you? This is all confidential, and I'm just trying to... we really are just trying to help you. And I said, domineering? I don't know. I don't think he ever was. He could be a loving father, and we would watch movies together, like Nightmare on Elm Street that you showed me. And I could sit in his lap from time to time, But did he ever threaten to hit you or beat you? And I said, yeah, he threatened to spank me a few times. And he would also show me his taser to scare me a little bit. And what about his nightstick, Dr. Easterman said. His nightstick? What? Yeah, come to think of it, he did. Yeah, he took it out and he threatened to beat me with it. Really? And you think that's... You think that's an appropriate thing for a father to do? Threaten to beat you with it? No, he did hit me with it one time. But it wasn't that hard, and he was going through a divorce, okay? Okay. It sounds like you're just making excuses for him. What? Maybe I am. What about the divorce? Wasn't that tough for you? Yeah, it was. My dad moved out. And I loved my dad. Okay. Now, I did do research, and I found out that he did remarry, and he had multiple other children. Didn't that kind of get under your skin a little bit? Yeah, how'd you know? Because I know things, Ethan. I've been doing this a long time. And Dr. Easterman, he was middle-aged, but he wasn't as old as Dr. Eugenic. Okay. So, did you ever feel replaced and sometimes angry with him for not spending more time with you after he had his other kids? Yeah, a little bit. You see, Ethan, you have so many mixed emotions about your father. That's why we picked, him as one of your antagonists. But I loved my dad. And I still miss him, even though he died almost 8.5 years ago. I don't know. Okay, I didn't say you didn't love your dad, but you had a lot of mixed emotions about him that you never really expressed. Alright, okay. And then just then, the water started to ring, and the boiling water was ready. And so he poured it into a cup, and then a coffee cup, and then he gently placed the green tea bag into the hot water. And he stirred up a little bit and waited for it to teep, sorry. Okay. And Dr. Eastman said, okay, this is really good. We're making some progress. This is all very interesting, but, well, you don't have to talk about it today, but, well, the faster you tell me things, the faster you can get out of here. And I said, okay, I'm listening. Can you tell me about your mother? Well, she was a very loving mother, and I think she was good. It's just that she was a little bit crazy. Crazy like the bathwater story. Yeah, come to think of it, how did you know about the whole bathwater thing? Well, when I was researching you, I've talked to a lot of people, and we emailed some of your school counselors. They're all retired now, but we did email them and ask them if they remembered you, and some of them do. And you were terrified of her putting you in that cold, gray, and black bathwater. And that made you afraid. It gave you anxiety of deep water. And it really started to make you resent your mother. What? Resent my mother? I didn't resent my mother. Back then you did. Okay, fine, but what kid doesn't resent their mother at some point in their lives? You're right. But it's important that you don't see her as this perfect, sweet archangel. But my mom was sweet. But she wasn't perfect, was she, Ethan? And then she served me the tea. But then again, what mother is? What about your stepdad? How'd you feel about him? Bob? Back in 1999 when they got all close and stuff, I hated him. I didn't like Bob. I didn't start to really like Bob until we got a little bit closer in the year 2000. And he was kind of like a friend in 2001. And in 2002, I started getting a little bit closer to him. But it wasn't until about when I was in 8th or 9th grade, and it was when we were living in Pennsylvania, not Maine, and we were about to go right back to North Carolina, and it was about 2004 where I started calling him my second dad. Okay. And you've never talked about this, but your stepdad's death was also hard on you. And it happened in one of the worst years to be alive. Yeah, Bob had a stroke in 2020, and he soon later died. I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it, that he so suddenly died, and my mom was absolutely devastated. Because Mom, she was always a little bit chubby, and Bob was in relatively good shape, and she thought that Bob would outlive her. And, well, you didn't want Bob to outlive Mom, did you? What? Well, deep down, no, I didn't. Because I feel like there just would have been a big wedge in between us when Mom died. If if she did go first, which she didn't. Okay. What about your stepmother? Who? Oh, yeah. Nancy. Yeah, there we go. Nancy. How'd you feel about her? And I sipped the tea with a little bit of honey in it, and I really did like the flavor. It was a little bit sweet, and I said, I don't know. She wanted me to call her mom sometimes, but I just wasn't comfortable with it. You can only have one mama, can't you, Ethan? Yep, that's right. That is right. You can only have one mama. Well, was she ever bitter or cold towards you in any way? And, well, now that you mention it, it was after I got back from college, and she started being a little bit colder to me. Why do you think that is, Ethan? I don't know, but she was sometimes just really mean to me when Dad got cancer. Oh, so it sounds like she took some of her frustration out on you because she wanted to get close to you, but you didn't. Well, no, I never thought about it that way before. See what I mean? Dr. Easterman said. See what I mean? I think I know what you mean, Dr. Easterman. Okay, what about... So do you still see Nancy? Oh, no, I don't know where Nancy is. In fact, I'm not even sure if she's still alive. I hope she is, because he has 2 other kids. Okay, I hope so too. Now, speaking of motherhood, as I took another sip of tea, can you tell me about the day your mother died? Again, you don't have to tell me today, but I would like you to, because the more you tell me, the sooner you can get out of here. Okay. Alright, so, I went to work, and it was a day like any other day. Although, on the way over to work, I had my daughter, Rose, in the car with me. And I was driving towards her apartment complex, the apartment that I had just bought her when she moved to Ethalonia, okay? Well, I was driving, and suddenly I remembered, wait a minute, Mom's sick. Yeah, she's been having stomach and chest problems. What am I thinking? And so I drove her over to Ivy's house, who is a family friend. And then I went on my way to work. And in the back of my mind, I was just a little bit worried about her, but I didn't think it was anything to write home about. So I actually did go into work, and it was like any other day. I was drinking my coffee, and I thought, should I call my mom to make sure she's okay? No, I don't take personal calls at work. No, I'm sure she's fine. And then I got on my lunch break, and I noticed that Mia had been calling my phone almost incessantly. Now, she works with me at Stars, but she works in a different department. And you see, Ivy is Mia's friend, not mine. And you see, Mia Ivy lives near my mom, and she knows my mom pretty well. And yeah. So the mom's neighbor told Ivy that mom had collapsed and she was unresponsive. And I was really frustrated when I called Mia at my lunch break, and I said, "Okay, Mia, what is it? What do you want?" And she said, "Your mother has had a heart attack." And I was like, "What? Mom had a heart attack? What? When?" "About an hour ago." And so after that, I ran to the colonel's office and said, "I'm sorry, I have to go. It's a family emergency." And so I put on my jacket and jumped in my Jeep, and I drove. I drove as fast as I could. I put the pedal to the metal. And I ran to the hospital, and I said, "Wait, where is Miss Phyllis Futterman?" You see, I kept my father's name, but my mother, she changed her name to Bob's name, and well, my stepdad's name, who my mom married, was named Robert Futterman, and so he was a dentist, and she changed her name to that. And I said, "Where is Phyllis Futterman? She's my mother." And the nurse looked on her computer and said, so she came in today with a massive heart attack, and she's in the OR now. She's in critical condition. And for a brief moment, I thought, oh no, she ain't gonna live. He ain't gonna live. So I sat down, and I just stared. And I saw a doctor coming towards me, and I really hoped, I had a bad feeling in my stomach. I really hoped that this wasn't what I thought it was. But I knew. And the doctor said, "I'm sorry, Ethan, but your mom didn't make it." That memory still makes me drop whatever I'm holding. Thank God I wasn't holding the hot tea, but it still makes me drop every time I think about it, and I have flashbacks to it. Oh, she was gone. One day she didn't feel well, and the next day she was gone. Oh well. So what are you gonna do? Okay. Alright. Okay, Mr. Upshur. I just want to say I'm very proud of you for sharing this with me. This is all very helpful. And I said, "How so? By making me cry a little bit? How is this helpful? How? Use that PhD of yours, and why don't you fucking help me?" I want to go see my kid. You know how bad I want my kid to have a relationship with her father. Oh, so now we're going back to parenthood. Okay. What about... Okay. Now, if you want... Ethan, if you want her to have a relationship with her father so bad, let me ask you this. Why do you keep going on these crazy adventures? Because it's my job, and No, your job is to work at Stars, but yet you still go on these crazy adventures, like You went to the serial killer mansion. You didn't have to. And then, last year, you went to Iraq. You didn't have to. You could just let Stars handle it. Now, you did have to go on that mission to Germany to save your daughter. And, okay, I understand why you went to the town of Little Hope to get your kids. I understand it. But you didn't have to go to that crazy cult village either. So why do you do it? Because it's the right thing to do, okay? But is it always the right thing to do for you and your family? No. So, I think you want to have a little thrill in your life. And I think that's the reason why you chose your journalism degree. You want to be able to do stuff worth doing and do stuff worth writing about. But you won't be able to do that for too much longer. And it's scaring you a little bit. And I also have a feeling that your mother worrying about you and the baby stressed her out. So, you do partially blame yourself. What are you talking about? You partially blame yourself, but and the reason why I put these St. Stephen's uniforms out with the mannequins is because you blame yourself for a lot of your trauma. And some of it you did choose, but most of it you didn't. And I just want to say, it's not your fault. What? What do you mean it's not my fault? Like, you just said that I've walked into some of those scary situations, even though I knew it was going to be dangerous. I knew it was going to be hard. What? Yes, but you didn't know that St. Stephen's would be that bad. You also didn't know Templegate would be that bad. And you volunteered to help uncover what's going on at Fredbear's, or what was going on at Fredbear's. Oh, by the way, I hear they're reopening a new Fredbear's location, but that's besides the point. And back in 2015, you didn't think you were going to run into a cannibalistic cult tribe. You thought that you were just going to help your friend Conway. And you've gone on several expeditions to save your wife and daughter. And that is something to be admired. But you have some trauma that you blame yourself for. Like, you blame yourself for your mother's death. You still have some feelings about your father that you haven't processed through yet. And also, you're still dealing with some of the trauma of things that you've been through. And you sometimes think that it's your fault because, you walked into these situations and you keep on walking. But the way I see it, Ethan, is either that you either stop doing these, or you keep doing these, but always keep in the back of your mind that the next time you talk to your wife and daughter could be the last. And I want you to remember that. But I also know that you can get bored in easy. And I do know that you are a little bit bored in your life now. You want to keep your life more exciting. So, it's important that you really, really show your wife how much you love her and appreciate her. And the same thing with your daughter. And you're going to have an opportunity to do that because your wife is here for you right now. But I would strongly, strongly encourage that you tell her how you feel. Okay? Alright, now I want you to go back to your room and get your things, and you can leave. See, that wasn't so hard, was it? Just to tell me how you're feeling? Because if you didn't, you would have to stay here another day. Alright, okay. And so, I quickly ran back to the cell block, and I hugged the guys, and I hugged Jennifer, and I said, guys, I'm leaving now. And Jennifer was like, oh, Ethan, congratulations. You really are such a sweet person. Thank you. And Javon said, all right, good luck out there. The real world ain't as nice as people like us. Yep. And Mackie said, well, I've got good news. This new schizophrenia meds that my Dr. Easterman has me on, really working. And I could get out soon, within the next couple days. Oh, that's awesome. And so I went up to the room, and I cleared all my things out, even the couple of records that I bought. I also bought a Bible with me. And then that old Hispanic security guard took me back out to the front desk, and there stood Mia. And I ran and I hugged her. While putting my things down on a chair, I just hugged her in the same exact spot where she left me 3 or 4 days earlier. And I said, oh, Mia, I miss you. I miss you so much. So, she said, did the therapy work good? What happened with the therapy? And I said, well, Mia, I'm not sure you would like what they did with me, but I think they did help me. They gave me these antidepressants, and now, Ethan, she said, did you find out why you were depressed? And I said, you know what? I think I did. Because I keep on walking into these dangerous situations, almost voluntarily. I do it because I want to help people. But why? Is it because I'm some great guy? Or I want to be famous? Or do I want to be remembered as the guy who exposed these truths? Or do I just want my life to be like the adult Scooby-Doo? Or feel like a badass, like a horror movie James Bond, while I have a wife and a kid at home? And whenever I'm not going on these crazy journeys, I'm doing a normal job. A job that sounds exciting. I work at the Supernatural Terror Administration and Reconnaissance, and I look after satellites. But truth be told, I'm bored. I'm bored to death of that job. And I love the life I live now, but why do I not appreciate it more? Why? I just complain about it all the time, and I don't want to complain to you. You might think that, oh, you're just whiny. And I don't want to tell a therapist this either. Because sometimes I feel like I can't feel sorry for myself. And I just feel like I have no one to talk to sometimes. It's just, you know how hard I've worked to bring these corrupt organizations and to neutralize these supernatural threats that I've done? And what have I done? What have I done to make the world a better place? What? I didn't bring down Markov. I inadvertently work for them now, Markov. And now, I hear Fredbear's might be reopening again. And yeah, I have neutralized some supernatural threats, but it's only a matter of time before the next one shows up. And Mia stopped me and said, "Wait, Ethan, we can get through this together." And she kissed me and said, "Come on, I want to take you back to the hotel room." And she took me back to the hotel room, and it was actually a new one that I haven't been to. And it was a nice one that on one side of the room overlooked the city, but the other side overlooked the beach. And I gotta say, the Ethelonia's got some nice overseas territories. They got Inagua, it really is a beautiful island. It's got a nice, colorful city, and it's got a nice, beautiful beach. There's also some snorkeling and scuba diving there. It's fun. And we were able to have some fun the next couple of days. We went out on the beach, we swam in the ocean, we went to some nice tiki bars, and we went to a nice seafood place. But on the last day there, I was sleeping after a long swim and walk up the beach, and I had a dream that they were chasing me again, those monsters, but this time it was these shadow figures that were a lot taller and bigger, and they were carrying weapons, and they chased after me, and I ran like up. I tried to climb up a bookshelf, and then I heard a swish and a swing, and something hit me, and I woke up. And then the phone rang at the hotel, and so I picked it up, and it said, "The Spider-Eyed Lamb."